This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
Awesome. So I'm going to start the meeting then. And there is no one outside of the committee here for public comment. But I guess I'll just make sure in case you didn't see the emails. Mark has to leave by 8 to get ready for some adventures. And
we'll see. I just have to go to a memorial service for a family member.
Well, that's a bummer, but
not adventurous, but we'll see.
Hopefully not adventurous then, maybe.
Well, you know, I've been to a couple of wakes that were pretty adventurous.
Well, this is for an aunt who lived to be 100 years old, so she lived a great life, and I haven't seen her or my cousins in many years, so it should be interesting.
Oh, that might be really cool. You know,
yeah.
And you live to be 100, you check off a lot of boxes, so that's.
Oh my God, yeah.
It's just like crazy to think of everything, that you lived through in a life. It's like that's really intense.
That's right.
100 years though, that's a lot.
Yeah, that's like a lot of
life.
And then Margie, it seems like maybe can't make it because of the ride situation. So on the agenda, we're going to talk maybe about the updating the not bylaws, but the little, our bylaws essentially thing, and maybe we'll just start talking about that. I don't know if we, since not everyone's here, we don't have to make decisions on it and things.
Sure.
People can say what they feel they want to add and all that jazz. And then, so I guess that's it for me. And we can move on to the acceptance of last month's minutes. Is anyone, I'm gonna do a motion to accept the minutes from last month.
So moved.
All right. And anyone want to is moving seconding it? Do I need to ask to second it?
Yep.
That's for a second.
Second the motion. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Fabulous. All right, and Ted, we're gonna need to do 2 treasure reports, is all, and your other updates.
Okay. Just to go back to last month, I apologize. I wasn't able to get in. And I kept getting, emails from Stephen and Mark, and where are you? Where are you?
We miss you.
No, nobody said that.
They shut up.
That's what we meant.
Anyway, the main thing about the May report, there were no major expenses. We had $340 in revenue for plot fees. And let's see, what was this? The petty cash. Oh no, there was one thing. It was $17. Okay. $17. I guess that was for keys. Stephen, for the shed, $17 from Obashan. I think that's what it was. So that was paid last month, and then we had $14.83 was spent out of petty cash. Combined, I think, Sarah, you had gotten some petty cash and you'd taken money in, plus you had bought some keys, so you reimbursed yourself. So we had a net decline in petty cash in May, or actually in April for the May report of $14.83. Other than that, that was it. So I guess somebody could move that we go back, and unless you have questions or comments on.
No, I'll
on
move
that.
I'll move it.
Yeah.
Anyone second?
Second.
All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Fabulous. All right, the next month.
Okay. Stephen and Sarah consolidated all the petty cash that they have. I have petty cash, and now Sarah has all of the other outstanding petty cash that's related to collecting money for the keys that we provide for the shed and purchasing those keys. And so the amount that I will show in petty cash, if you have it there for the June report, we had a slight decline. It was a couple of dollar decline in our total petty cash. And most of that was basically for keys. And there's $3 and something. I think it's $3.83, Frank. And I've had this petty cash sitting in my car, and I've been up at the garden more than I used to be, always hoping to see you there. But it's the petty cash that I have for you. So I've already taken, that's included in this report. And
Okay, awesome.
Get it to you. Good to see you back.
Oh yeah, no, you'll see me now. I went up there today. I made it up there today for the first time, and I got a lot of work.
Yep.
So it's gonna be a family affair.
Gotta get those
Getting
beans
things
in.
going. And I have
So-
another receipt for. I bought gas. I mowed probably a few days before I left, and then I think. Then there was somebody else mowed. Steve and Cheryl mowed, I think. So, but I ended up getting gas. I've got the receipt. I'll give it to you at some point.
Oh, okay. Well, the previous one where you bought the flags to identify
Right.
what this Canadian thistle is, it was a few bucks, less than $4.
I know. And people put the flags back in my plot. It was awesome. We could use them again.
Nice.
Okay. We did have 2 more plots that were paid for during May. So that we had a $40 income there. Now we have had expenditures for, let's see, Tractor Supply and for my purchase order, because I purchased wood for the pollinator garden to build 3 raised beds. And but none of that has been completely processed through the city yet. So I don't report it until I get the sheets back from the city saying this has been paid out of your accounts and so forth. So I expect it will be in the next report. I'll let you know where we stand, though, just in terms of general terms here. Tractor Supply, Mark bought 4 hoses and some nozzles. And the total expenditure is $269.93. That's in process now. But we had a purchase order for $300, so we're going to be down to about $30 left in our Tractor Supply purchase order after that is all paid out. They have to get the bill from the DPW, since we don't actually have our own purchase order with Tractor Supply. We do it through DPW. And when they get the bill, then they will look to see the items on their bill, and they know what is supposed to be for the garden, and Barbara will make sure that those funds are taken out and applied to our purchase order.
Ted,
And
what was the total, the Tractor Supply total again? To what?
269.93.
Thank you for doing that, Mark.
Yeah, we got 2 Flexilla hoses. There's still one in the shed, by the way. If somebody needs one, and 2 of another variety of similar, but not that brand because they didn't have any more.
Yeah. Awesome.
Okay.
And I think I forgot to check today, but I saw a plot that still didn't have a nozzle on it.
Yeah,
Did
we
you
bought some of the brass nozzles, and there were some other nozzles in the shed that I think
Okay.
are still functional. And I notified those who asked about them. I think Margie was looking for a better one, and someone else. So that's where they are. They're in the shed on the shelf there. On your
Okay,
left.
great. Awesome.
We can get more if you need.
Yeah. And then the last thing was the I purchased the wood. It was hard to get 2 by 8s, 8-foot 2x8s. I guess maybe everybody was building raised beds or something. When I went to Lowe's, so I bought some 2x8 by 12s and had them cut them down, cut 4 feet off, and so I was, but I wasn't able to get enough there, so I had to get some more at Home Depot up in Greenfield. But the city won't reimburse me for the taxes, but I'll cover that. It's not that much. But I spent $139.09, which they will reimburse me for, and that's also in process. So I don't know how quickly they actually go through and pay the bills, but I expect it's going to happen in June. So that will be actually shown once I know it's confirmed. I'll be shown in the next report. So that leaves us about roughly $160 that I can purchase more lumber if necessary, when we have time and when we have need for 3 more raised beds, which is what Karen wanted in the pollinator garden. So, any questions?
I guess I don't know if this is the right space to ask, but I'm gonna do it. I do want to have a work day to bang out the beds by the parking area, hopefully in the next few weeks. And it sounds like with this, maybe the lumber at Lowe's and Home Depot isn't as accessible right now. I think I'm gonna go ahead and contact the Flurry lumber.
Flurry lumber.
And maybe I'll do it through them, so we don't have to. No one has to go to Greenfield or something and see what info I can get there.
I was up there for physical therapy, so
Oh, good.
go to physical therapy, then load the lumber.
Load a bunch of wood.
Twofer.
And but Karen had looked into that, and she said that the lumber, the only thing that they had of the right size was in the cedar, which is we might be able to get a 2x2 bed out of the cedar with what we have left, but I'll be happy if you need some lumber. I do get a discount at Lowe's, so.
Well, maybe I'll do some research and email you, and we can talk about maybe which place makes the most sense.
I mean, if you want to look
And-
into Flurry, that's fine. If I'll let Karen speak to that. Karen, you?
Yeah, I think I sent an email out where I listed what was available at each place and what were their prices. And Flurry's prices were so much higher than Lowe's that it ended up not making sense for us to go through them to buy it.
Yeah, I just if Lowe's is running out of out of the right type of wood right now. That might, and I'm trying to do this in the next few weeks. Maybe I'd have to go to them, but
That was almost 2 months ago, though.
oh, okay, great. Well, then,
Hopefully,
okay.
hopefully, maybe they've got some. I can check it out. It's not a problem if you want me to
Okay.
look into it. How now with what I have, the $160, we were thinking of doing 3 more raised beds in the pollinator plot, but I don't know, Karen, if you're really ready to do anything with 3 more raised beds. We got 3.
Yeah, I'm ready to wait until I need more cardboard and I need more plants, unfortunately. So
and dirt would help too.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Soil,
would
topsoil.
then maybe we should consider at this point of trying to take care of the raised beds up in the parking lot and make that a
Yeah.
priority.
I would agree.
Awesome. Okay, great. Well, then I'll maybe
How
run
many
over and
plots? How many raised beds and what size? I don't remember.
There's 3.
I'll measure them, and if we're comfortable financially to do all 3, we should. But the middle one is structurally sound compared to the other 2. So those are the ones that's going to prioritize.
Okay.
So I'll measure those tomorrow morning.
Okay. Let me know, and then I'll. At least the lumber was reasonable, reasonably priced
Great.
at Lowe's. So
Awesome. And then the last thing I was going to ask is there room in the budget for me to purchase some perennials for those beds? Or because I've been buying seeds and just like, I don't know, just like I'm kind of addicted to purchasing seeds, so it's just my little donation to the garden. But with the lack of water, I don't know if all the seeds that I planted are super happy. So I was thinking to really make that area more presentable in the future, to like maybe invest in a couple like really like sturdy perennial plants. Is there room for me to spend like $100 on that in the budget, or?
Sarah, I have like black-eyed Susans. I have like a
Oh, okay.
farm of them here. Like they volunteer all over my garden.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
I can dig some of those up, and I also I have butterfly weed seed because now I'm back. I'm not going to say I'm not going anywhere else this summer because I don't know how things are going to work out down south, but I can start some butterfly weed. I planted some up there like 2 years ago, and I think somebody was weeding and they weeded them all out.
Yeah.
But I could put some more up there, and they're not going to bloom this year. But I could if I start them within the next few days, by July, we could put them in up there, and they'll
Heck
take.
yeah.
So that's 2 things anyway that we can do right off the bat. And I actually bought some of that. Oh, come on, the sea holly that you had.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I bought seeds for that, so I'm gonna start some of those also within the next few days. So they won't bloom like I think you said they take 2 years, right?
Just 1 year. So next year you'll blooms.
But next year. So we'll I mean that's something anyway that
Yeah.
it's,
That's a good idea. I had done similarly. I have chamomile and coreopsis and chives that are like a weed in my garden, so I transplanted a bunch of them up there, and they're loving it.
Yeah, the coreopsis will do great there.
Oh my God, they're doing great over there. So, but for these next 2, I especially if I'm having a work day, I just want to make sure there's stuff.
Right.
So, but maybe I'll tell people, because a lot of people have perennials, like you said, like growing in their yard. So maybe I'll put out an open call to bring those to the work day. But if I was to go purchase some plants, like is there room to get reimbursed for some, or like, I struggle to know like how we decide these larger spending projects. Like, is there room to get reimbursed? Because if not, like I feel comfortable. I'm really like excited to grow things there so I could donate the money, but you know, I would also, if there is room to get reimbursed for some of it, that would be awesome.
Well, the only of reimbursing you would be if you purchased through one of our vendors that we have purchased with,
So, you know,
or petty cash, and I don't know. My preference is to hold on to the petty cash for when we actually have to, like, purchasing gas. Well, we don't have a
Yeah.
garden
that's-
committee, you know, card that we can use to purchase gas and all that kind of thing. So, I would say, bring it up if you look at things and price them, and then come in and, anything is open. I think we've tended to look at how do we maintain our equipment and our infrastructure, rather than the actual plantings that we use. I don't know of any. I'm not sure, Karen, what you put in your pollinator garden, whether we have to purchase anything for that, or how that all
In the past
takes place.
years, yeah, in the past years, I was told that I had $80 to spend, but I ended up buying plants and then not getting around to getting reimbursed for them. So that's kind of how it worked.
Okay, yeah, I know since I've been the treasurer, I haven't had any requests. So, again, my preference would be to do it if we can through a vendor that we have a purchase order with,
Do
if
we have?
that's possible.
Yeah. But do we have a
Or
vendor?
I've got to take it out of the funding that I have available, with the purchase order that I've set up, where I can go out and purchase, but I've used that to take care of the wood for raised beds.
So do we have a vendor where we can get 6 packs of flowers from?
Yeah,
It's
it
Patty.
looks like
Only-
the feed
Only
store.
place I've seen is Aubergine.
Yeah,
Or-
Aubergine.
no,
Well, the
But
feed
he's,
store too.
Easthampton feed,
Oh,
yeah.
Easthampton
Easthampton
feed.
feed.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
East,
They don't have
Easthampton
a
feed.
lot.
Depends on when you
No,
go
but they're
there.
super friendly over there, so I might go ask them and see. And they seem to really like the community garden, so maybe I'll just
Oh, yeah.
ask if they know what they're about to bring in or something, and I can email you, Karen, and we can run over there together and make sure we get what we desire from them. But I'll do that
Yeah.
tomorrow too.
We do have funds, definitely have funds available through Easthampton feed.
And they
Awesome.
have another store in Westfield, so they could maybe bring stuff over too.
All right,
I asked
Stephen,
the
you raised your
guy-
hand. Sorry, Karen, hold on. Stephen raised his hand.
Well, just a point of clarification, just so I'm clear. Ted gave his both financial reports, and we moved and accepted them. Are we still, is this subsequent discussion still about the treasurer's report, or we moved into, I'm just trying to figure out, we moved along into purchasing a whole range of things, and I lost track of where we are.
I guess I was trying,
on
and
the
maybe
agenda.
we can talk about this. I just wondered if it was going to spend money on a garden project, how we decide if I'm allowed to ask for that reimbursement or not. And it sounds like Ted saying I should start with our vendors. And then I guess I just didn't really know how our finances worked when it comes to how we decide how to spend our money in general.
Well, generally speaking, I think, and if that's what Ted said, if I could just interject for a second, that's why we have approved vendors. I mean, the idea is whenever possible to go through that, because then we have a whole mechanism, a payment mechanism through the city for that. When we get into reimbursing individuals for certain, now sometimes you can't avoid it. And as an example, we've always started the year off, Mark, on the compost and stuff like that, where it wasn't always possible to kind of do in the typical, a PO, et cetera. And it's worked out fine. I think we've really got that down really well. So there's an example of something that we confront each and every year. We've got it down. But generally speaking, now when it came to the raised beds, in part because we had again an immediate need to get those in place at the beginning of the garden year, and Ted was kind enough because he has the discount from Lowe's right to access that. But generally speaking, apart from that, I think we have enough vendors at this point that we can go through them. Now, with the exception on the wood part, because as you pointed out, yeah, there is a price difference probably between a small local, flurry and a huge super box store. And that's what we've discovered with Lowe's. That said, unless we, I think if people think that it's just worth going, saving the money, which of course is very sensible, then I think the more logical thing is to try to figure out whether or not we can just get an account with Lowe's rather than, individual, kind of reimbursing individuals. It just, I don't know, ultimately it falls on the treasurer. But I think that that should be more an exception to the rule than the rule itself. That everyone kind of does their own payment and seeks reimbursement.
I would second that.
I guess, yes, totally second that. I guess my question was less to do, I probably framed it wrong. How is it okay if I spend money from our allocated purchase order, these companies, if I just go and buy some stuff for those raised beds by the parking area, am I allowed to just do that? Or should I maybe get a rough range of how much you guys are comfortable with me spending on that project?
Yeah,
That's the way to go.
Yeah, good question. That's why we're doing this meeting. Exactly this. We need X. Right.
So can I spend $100 on plants for the plots by the parking area?
Where would you get them from?
I will start by talking to Easthampton Feed, since that's the only place that has plants that I would feel comfortable buying, and see what kinds of perennials they can offer me. Just because usually perennials start at $20 each.
Yeah, we have enough money in that line.
So I know that Karen wants to add something to finish my point. I think, given what you've just posed there, that part of the discussion should be either kind of under operations or new business, right? But I don't think we're I don't think we're in the treasurer's report anymore.
That would go to new business.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm sorry that it got so derailed. I was just trying to ask how I should ask the finance guy, Ted, about what to do with our finances, with how I should ask about a project. Cool. And before we move on, I just want to make sure, Karen, you can say what you need to say.
Regarding Easthampton Feed, although it's a smaller store than the Westfield one, at one point I asked them, because I was looking for some specific plants, should I go over to the Westfield store? And I thought they'll have a bigger selection. And at that point, the guy told me that Easthampton has a selection, and that Westhampton or Westfield doesn't tend to carry a lot of seedlings. They may have changed, but that was what they told me in the past.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Go check
Great.
them out.
Okay, cool. Let me just see on the agenda really quick. Ted, did you want to add anything else before we move on?
I would just, in a sense, like to summarize the way that rather than just going out, we don't just sort of do what we want to do, and then come back with receipts. It's if you have a project in mind, research it, figure out the financing, come to the committee, ask if they will approve a certain expenditure.
Yep.
And where that might be spent. And that's the procedure, as opposed to me deciding, oh, I think we need to put some new plants somewhere else within the garden because it would really look nice. And then come back and say, you know, can we take this out of this account? The committee, I believe, not the treasurer, but the committee should decide on how funds are spent. I just monitor the expenditures. I don't decide what gets spent.
Right.
And so I think anybody who wants to make an expenditure on behalf of the garden should do it by researching it and coming back with some hard numbers. Karen came back, I need 6 beds. I want them to be 4 by 8, and then one, I think it was 2 by 6, and so forth. And I've looked into the lumber, and this is what it's going to cost, da 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 da. And so we were able to make a decision, maybe up to $300, we can do that. So that's the type, that's the procedure. If we have a procedure, that is the proper way of going about doing it. So if you have an idea, research it, come back with a number, find out who can do it. Now, I will say, when I went to put a purchase order in my name so that I could do purchases at Lowe's, Barbara said, you can't find it locally. And, you know, I was a little, you know, I understood that. I said, we tried Fleury Lumber, but it was just what they had was too expensive for what we needed. So we have to go elsewhere. And this is the way we're trying to do it.
Yep.
To get around our local vendors. Tractor Supply is not Easthampton, really close, but
no.
You know, we do try to do as much as we can locally. I think that's the way we should operate. So going with Easthampton Feed, if you can do something, that would be the way to go. And to maybe we can, in the new business or whatever, bring up and have a proposal that we can vote on or whatever.
Fabulous.
But I thought I needed to summarize sort of the process that we're going through.
Well said.
Perfect. Yes, definitely. Because it makes sense to, I think, and then I'll just add that when you bring a proposal, we'll not include that in the treasurer's report because it has to do with each subcommittee or sub project or whatever. And I'm going to add that to the new business then. Perfect. Okay, great. And just before Mark leaves, let's do the operations report.
Not much going on, I guess, right, Frank?
Yeah, no. Well, I've been here, so I think one thing I need to do now is the people who expressed interest in being in the mow crew is to get a hold of the ones who don't know how to use the mower, and then make sure everybody knows how to do that. That's probably the most important thing, just keeping the grass down. And that would apply really probably for the trimmers as well. But yeah, I just, like I said, I just got up there today for the first time, and I saw the new hoses, and Mark, you said you had purchased, I'll let you jump in here too, Mark, but you know, with the nozzles, it's just going to be kind of an ongoing thing probably. And I don't know. I'm just trying to think of anything else right now. I had been in touch with Deb just about some thistle stuff. And once I get settled back in here, I'm going to do another thistle inspection, kind of just to make sure that we're on top of this stuff. I'm going to kind of leave it at that. And if anyone has, if I didn't think of something, ask away, please. But Mark, you want to pick up what you did while I was out of town?
Yeah, we just told people I think it was at our last big meeting that, everybody, I think, was given a hose. Maybe there's one exception, but if they found that they were defective, that they should let us know and we would just replace them. So I did have a couple of requests, Ann and B1, I guess, and Margie. And so they got some of the ones that I purchased. I went and got 2 Flexilla. That was all they had, was just 2. And then when I went back, I thought maybe they'd have some more, but they didn't. So I got some Stanley ones, which were very similar construction, very flexible. Oh, yeah. And got a couple of those. And I bought 3 or 4 of the brass nozzles, which I think I talked to Ted about this, and maybe the rest of you. They potentially could last forever. The plastic models that we get seem to crap out, every year or two. So I'm not really spending a lot of money for them unless people really prefer them. But they don't seem to last very long.
No.
What we've seen. In other related news, I did have a conversation with a guy, John Adams, I guess is his name. He's right across from me in B5. He and his partner Caitlin, and I think he's willing to take on the weed whackers to try to take care of us, because those have been an issue for a while. We're trying to get them functioning. I think they're missing strings, and we may need more fuel there. So I saw him fiddling with it, and he seemed like he almost got it started. We didn't have any fuel.
There's a can of fuel there, Mark.
Yeah, I know. I was trying to remember which one it was.
Yeah,
it's the what mixture, a fuel mixture.
Yeah, it's a gallon can in there.
Gas and oil. So I think we're going to try to turn that over to him and see, because I think as we see all these patches of grass around there, especially around the edges of gardens where you got raised beds, frames, and all that, it's the only way you can get at that stuff. You can't mow it. So we got to get those weed whackers going. So I'm going to see if I get back with John and see if he can help us work on that, make sure those are functional. I mean, I guess we can just, if they're not working, we can just take them to Flurry Equipment, right?
Yeah. And even that, now that you've mentioned that, I mean, once we mow again, I need to take the mower up there just for general maintenance. We do that every year. And I'm able, my son comes up, we're able to get it in my Subaru. We can, if everything folds down, I can take it up there. I just want to get a good, give it a crew cut up there, and then we can take that up there, because it'll probably take a couple of weeks for them to get that done.
So just to summarize again, if people still need hoses, let us know, and we'll get them. It looks like we might have spent our wallet at the at Tractor Supply, but we haven't. I didn't really look at hoses at Aubuchon. They may have a similar product, and we have some money in that account, it looks like, if that's acceptable for the committee and for treasurer stock. Yeah. And
we can see if they can order them too.
Yeah.
Because I looked up there, I went on their websites and they didn't have the Flexilla stuff. And I was in there the other day. I didn't really see anything that was out of the ordinary. And I'm kind of done with those traditional hoses. I mean, with people having to unravel and ravel and drag them and everything, We need something that is not going to kink and that's actually going to last too. I mean, I bought
And
one
it
of
might be nice. I don't know if they're gentler, but like some of the paths, the hoses, you have to go over a lot of, navigate a lot of plots. And so those more flexible ones, I think maybe it's easier to not accidentally damage your
Oh yeah,
neighbor's
no,
plants.
absolutely, Sarah. No, they just kind of hug the ground and yeah, they're like boat hoses. You can actually the lining and the flexos you can actually drink out of them. I wouldn't drink out there necessarily, but yeah, they're like a boat hose. You can actually use them to drink out of.
On the subject of hoses, still, there's all those ones that are defective or discarded out to the left of the shed there. Do we want to do something with those to get them, dispose of them somehow, or give them to somebody who might want to resuscitate them? Any thoughts on that?
I looked up, there is no way to recycle hoses. They are
Yeah.
a huge waste product.
Oh my God.
I know.
I mean, I can
Devastating.
end up. I mean, I could whatever is out there that has to go. I could take them up to the transfer station, and that's something where because they're going to do it by weight, it's not going to weigh that much, and that's something that we could use petty cash for. It would probably be like $8 or something to get rid of everything. So that's something we can consider because we need to get them out of there because.
Right. It's confusing.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm assuming they're all defective. I'm assuming. I have no way.
I mean, I'd almost love it because I used to landscape, and when people plant new trees, they use the wire that they use old pieces of hose, against the tree so that the wire doesn't cut the tree. But I don't know. And maybe some forum out there that wants old hoses.
Well, maybe on pre-cycle we could post them
maybe
at least once.
Yeah.
Give it a shot.
Yeah. I'll ask. I think it was Alyssa was posting about the other stuff behind the shed on the free.
The greenhouse stuff. Yeah, right.
Yeah, so maybe if she's down, I'll ask her to post about the hoses too. And
then we got to make sure they're still relatively functional. Otherwise, we just say they're scrap, and then if somebody wants them, they want them.
Do you guys, Mark and Frank, do you want to let me know once you decided about the state of those hoses? And then I can help coordinate with either myself or Alyssa posting it on a free thing. And then if no one takes it, then coordinating with one of us to take it to the dump. But if you guys want to let me know once you've looked at the hoses.
I'd say I'm pretty sure that they're all defective. I would say go ahead and post. What do you think, Frank?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I could go up and look at because I mean, some heavy gauge hoses up there. If the ends on them were decent, maybe somebody would want them, but I don't know. I
mean, we could end up waiting a long time to get rid of these.
I know that's the other thing. And there's a lot of other stuff to take care of.
Right.
Well, then let's not worry about it. I'll work on making that post with Alyssa. We'll also share it with the gardeners that they can take those, knowing if they want to take them home and mess with them.
Good idea.
Sure.
And it's all the ones that are outside the shed. All of those are the ones that need to be removed from the premises. Okay.
Yeah, I threw some defective ones there, but then they're more suddenly appeared, so I assumed other people had problems.
Decide. All right, awesome.
Okay, other than that, I don't really have anything to add at this point. I will say and I may just throw this under new business. No, I'll just say it now, and then we can, if we want to talk. We have some multi-floor rose bushes starting to grow up within our kind of sphere of influence in the community garden, and that would be a good thing to probably do a project for because we need to get rid of them. They are invasive and they're pretty when they bloom, but after that, there's nothing else redeemable about them except that they become rat nests.
Do you
I'll find
want,
out. I'll mark them all.
okay, because I would love to, hopefully I'll see you at the garden. I'd love to see what they look like.
Oh
and,
yeah.
We could
Oh,
probably
if
do,
you
I guess,
cut your-
how we've done the thistle and take pictures and send it to around.
Yeah, they're not. There's just like 2 or 3 of them, and they're not in plots. Well, there was one that was in plots between A11 and A12, I think. They're not really in the plots, but they're around, and if they're around, they'll make their way into the plots eventually. So, but they're just a nuisance, and they become a rabbit nest basically.
Okay.
Yeah. That's
Okay.
it. It's good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see
Glad you're
you.
back.
To you.
All right. I feel like there was something else I was going to ask you guys, but I can't remember what it is. Oh, I know. If you want, either include me in on the training with the mower and the weed whacker, or I don't know if it would be fun to have like a posted day to go learn how to use them, because I have never learned, and I don't know, did I freeze that?
Whoops. Where'd she go?
And then there were 6.
Oh my.
You get whacked.
She didn't say anything bad.
Oh, what happened?
I think you hit the wrong button.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I expect that she'll be back.
Yep.
Yeah, I suck with the weed whackers. That's the one machine that I'm not good with. Hey,
Hey.
Hey, there she is.
you're muted,
You're
Sarah.
muted.
Sarah,
Muted,
you're
Sarah.
muted.
Okay, so Spectrum doesn't work if it gets too hot, basically. So I was just asking if you would do maybe an announced work day to learn how to use the mower and stuff.
Yeah, that's where I
CC me so I can come, because I've
Right.
always wanted to learn.
Sure. Yeah, because the mower is easy. You just want to have some kind of ear protection.
Cool. Oh, and I did want to
You
say
really
John and Caitlin were going to come to the meeting tonight, but they couldn't. And it makes sense that they're trying to take on this weed whacker thing. That might have been why they wanted to be here. So
I would love it if they did that. That I would hand that off in 2 seconds.
Do we have ear protection in the shed?
We should probably get at least some little earplugs. Actually, I'll write that down.
We need
I mean,
more than that.
I have like the bigger ear. I grew up in a military family, and my dad ran a weapons society in Parasite. We call them Mickey Mouse ears, but they're like the earphones, the noise canceling earphones, and that's what I use when I mow with that thing, because it is. If you mow the whole garden, your ears will be ringing when you're done. So
I might have an old pair of them. I'll donate.
Oh,
But I
okay.
think-
Awesome.
I
Because
think we
I
should
know
definitely
Aubuchon carries those.
Have them for anybody who's going to be mowing up there.
Yeah, because I've bought those at Aubuchon before, just for myself.
all right. Awesome.
Okay, Sarah. we
Okay,
can
great.
Move on.
All right. Next would be outreach, but Margie's not here, and I guess because I've been helping meet with the new gardeners, the biggest updates are we've got some new gardeners, and they all seem so excited and experienced, or at least really enthusiastic. So I think it's going to be a, knock on wood, I don't think we're going to have any abandoned plots, which would be great.
That is a knock on wood.
Yeah. But a lot of these newer gardeners are also kind of newer to the area and have expressed interest in, are the meetings once a month a good way to meet people, or like, how do you meet people? So I don't think there's maybe been as much of that in past years. So I'm just going to try to like be a little bit more open about like hosting some, maybe we won't go back to work days because those weren't super well attended, but at least putting it out there because it does seem like these newer gardeners are trying to maybe make some more connections. So I might try to like, have like, I don't know if a potluck would be cute, but some sort of gathering at some point, just because I think that's might be cool. And from what I ran a community garden in New York, and one of the things we struggled with was like try not to impose ideas of community onto people, and really just like listen to what the members of the garden wanted each year for their season. And so just I'm trying to get better at assessing that too. So I'll maybe do that. And yeah. And we all got Margie's email, so she didn't say anything else. Stephen, yeah, has a hand raised.
I'm
Well,
going to
actually-
sign off, folks. I'll see you later.
Bye,
Hey,
Mark.
Mark.
Thanks
Take
for
care,
coming.
Mark.
Bye, Mark.
Take care, Mark.
Bye-bye.
I raised my hand before we get to Eric, because remember that outreach is two reports, internal outreach, which is Margie, and external, which is Eric. But one thing we can give some thought to, Sarah, from what you were just saying about how people get to meet each other, et cetera, et cetera. We could give garden tours. So in other words, we could kind of do a round robin thing where people want to tell people what they're doing in their plot, what they're growing and how they've done it, et cetera. That might be one way.
My God, that's adorable. I love that. It's so fun. Cool. I mean, maybe I'll bring that up to the next meeting for us to talk about, but like, we should do that. That would be so fun. Oh, cool. All right, Eric.
Yep. Don't really have anything from outreach. Gonna gonna talk to the other people on the pathing committee and figure out what's the best way to go about getting the paths done. If we've got a couple people that want to do it. I don't know, maybe some of the other committees. I mean, the other committees should probably be self-organizing, but if anybody needs internal emails or internal rallying done for any of that stuff, let me know. I can get that going. That's it.
Did you say padding? I didn't quite catch it. Patting?
Rallying, I think.
Oh, no. I thought you said padding.
Or the paths.
Oh, pathing. Yeah, the pathing committee. Our pathing crew. Laying down wood. Pathing.
The paths.
Yep.
Pathing.
Pathing. Yep.
P-A-T-H. Okay.
Sorry, my microphone is terrible.
Got it. No, I got it. I just wasn't sure I knew.
Mine's pretty bad too.
But that's good to emphasize that, the outreach, you and Margie can help these other crews with the emails. So Frank, if you want, they can do the emails for the or like if that's,
Well, it was a small group. That's something it's not the bigger stuff. Like, if I was seeing problem with weeds in general or something, then that would be something. Yeah, I usually talk to Margie, but yeah, no, the most stuff that's not, there weren't that many folks.
Okay. All right, awesome. So that was outreach, and now donation garden. I'm just going to read really quick what Linnea sent me, and she says that the frost got a bunch of the plants she planted, which was a huge bummer, but she replanted, and so it's all set. And she stopped by the community center and said that their donation hours are Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, Saturday, 9 to 12. So she doesn't think we'll need to use the coolers as much this year because you can deliver every day. And she also said that she's working on emailing the folks who've contacted her about maintaining and taking stuff to the center. And she might have some trellises to bring to the garden for folks to use as well. That. And now the pollinator garden.
And the pollinator garden got weed whacked, so the weeds are kicked back. I've used up all the cardboard that I have. I need to get more cardboard, and I have some plants, some large plants from where I am, where I'm thinning out some perennials, but I was hesitating to put them in on days when it was just full sun, because they're kind of big and their roots are thick. So hopefully over the next few days, when we have cloudiness and hopefully some rain, that would be a good time to put some of them in. And then it's a matter of filling in around them with the wood chips. But it's a continual search to get sheets of cardboard to finish repressing the weeds out there.
Okay. And I guess, and we're waiting for a little bit to do the last 3 beds until things shift.
Yeah,
right?
it'd be fine to put. I'd like to get the first 3 filled. I'm hoping to put herbs in the small one in the middle. There's a small one on either side, and for you to get your wood for the parking lot beds, that's a higher priority than me finishing off the other side. Hopefully, by the end of the summer, that would be great if we could do that. Then everything would be covered and mulched over the winter and would be in good condition to go next summer. We put wood chips all over there last fall. And on that other side where I have yarrow growing, the wood chips have worked their way into the soil and stuff is growing again. It's just a continual task to keep covering those areas with cardboard and a good pile of wood chips.
Awesome. All right, and Frank.
If you just put the word out to Deb, and I even think Christine they tend to have ready sources of cardboard. If they knew that we really had an urgency for it, they've been good about getting more of it.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff going on up at the community college right now. I keep seeing boxes everywhere, but if we have to, I'll go dumpster diving for big sheets of cardboard. I'll take an X-Acto knife and cut it in whatever dimensions you want.
Yeah, I'm constantly looking, and like on Free Cycle, when people say, big boxes from moving, I'm over there collecting them. So, and even on the road, if I see nice big clean sheets by a recycle bin, I'm there loading it into the back of the car.
Heck yeah.
It's just where I'm looking for the brown with not a lot of ink, not white boxes, not brightly colored boxes, just something that's more compatible with mulching in the garden.
Cool. Makes sense. Awesome. I'll add that to the outreach email. Or I'll mention that for Margie to put in there, like still looking for cardboard for the.
Yeah, Norman left some, and I've put that over in there. But it takes a lot of cardboard to cover, and you really need the cardboard under the wood chips to stop the weeds from coming through.
Awesome. All right, fabulous. And anything else with the pollinator garden?
Just that I'm kind of using up the plants that I have here. So, and I'm asking around with other people. I found a a place on the internet where people are like thinning down their beds and they're offering you to come over and get plants, extra plants from them. I'm just a little nervous about that because don't want to contaminate our area with the jumping worm. But still, I'm looking for other sources of plants to stick in there.
Awesome. Great. And maybe we'll include that in the email too. People have thinning out things. All right. Okay, awesome. So next is gardener feedback. Anything folks want to add? All right. We don't have any old business, I don't think. I think it's all new. And so in new business, we're gonna talk about I think the path discussion might take a little bit of time. So if it's okay, I'm just gonna ask really quick about the discussion we started earlier with the money requests for plants for the parking lot beds. If I go to Easthampton Feed, they sell out of their plants kind of fast. So what I might do is ask them what they have or what they think they're going to have, and get a price, an estimate of how much I'm going to spend. I might need to buy a bag of bumper crop compost to put on to top dress the plants. And since I want to have the workday before July 1st, is it comfortable for me to just email everyone with how much I think I'm going to spend and have us all agree via email for me to use that money from the feeds purchase order?
That
You-
sounds
you
all right to
mentioned-
me. I mean, because you can't wait a month for us to approve something like that because we need to get the plants in the ground, and you're probably going to need, just judging from the dirt up there, you'll probably need a couple of bags of compost. And their topsoil up there is, when they have it, the Foster's topsoil is really good. I usually do a mix of those two things when I plant.
Oh, okay, awesome.
Yeah. If you forget the name,
Is
just shoot me an email.
Okay.
Is it possible there's still some compost of what was delivered weeks ago?
You can scrape,
That's
you can
sort of
scrape some
sitting
out of there.
Nobody's taken that. At least use some of that to begin with.
I did use some that I bought for the middle bed. So I could scrape up what's left, but I feel a little anxious because I don't know. I want to make sure all the people who paid for it. I wish I knew if everyone was like, I for sure grabbed all of my buckets. So before stealing from the
It's been about 5 weeks or so. I would think what's left there is.
And I would agree with Ted. I mean, there's a couple of those, hard rakes or the ones with the 3 forks, the longer rakes. Could scratch that up, and that would probably, then you would probably just want to get a maybe 4 bags of topsoil, because because that stuff's pretty friable. It's open and airy, that compost. So if you added some topsoil to it, it would probably help settle it all down some.
Okay, makes sense. Yeah, Steven.
Yeah, I know that Mark is no longer in the meeting, but we had kind of discussed it a little bit. I think going forward in the future on the compost that we ought to set a date, like for instance, June 1st.
Yeah.
In other words, you participate in this, it's delivered, a date certain, but it has to be, you have to accept it by a date certain, because otherwise we don't know whether or not people have gotten all those and what we're seeing is extras just because of just how it worked out, or whether people haven't. So we need a real date certain.
Yeah.
And I think that I would suggest Eric, maybe we or someone do a communication and just give people one last chance to scoop it up, because it's just a shame if it's just going to sit there unused.
Yep.
It's a great idea. I know that people were waiting for a while, I think, because of rain and stuff, but it's past that for sure.
Oh, wait, yes.
Sarah?
All right, that's awesome. Yes.
Yeah, about your request, I would probably say request that we approve $100, up to $100. If you can get it through Easthampton Feed.
Yeah.
And that
yeah.
certainly would be easy to do. And let's see where that gets you.
Great.
We can always come back for a little more if necessary, but maybe to at least to get you going, to approve
Yeah.
an expenditure through one of our vendors, preferably Easthampton Feed, or I don't know, Obashan might have some stuff. They would have at least topsoil or something, but you're not going to do any Easthampton Feed, so I would go with them and get yourself started.
Cool.
And keep it under $100, and let's see how it goes.
Cool.
I would agree with that.
And I'll email everyone just so they know. I think that should be plenty. My style of gardening is, similar to Karen's. I'm trying to, with perennials especially, it's like getting the thinnings of other folks or, stuff that I know will last. And so or will expand relatively quickly, like coreopsis and stuff. So that way in the future, it doesn't have to be maintained that well. So those are all pretty cheap. So I think it'll be fine.
Okay. Well, I'd like to make a motion then that we approve for your project of doing plantings in the raised beds by the parking lot, an expenditure from Easthampton Feed up to $100.
Second.
Aye. All in favor, say aye. Yay.
Aye.
Aye.
And I'll just add to this, they kind of need our business because all that road construction has kind of cut into their customer flow.
Really?
They're all yeah. No, I was talking to Dave like 3 weeks ago, I think, and it definitely has affected their. I mean, they have a sign that says local businesses open, but it's kind of a pain to get through there, and it's pretty. The last couple of days, there's a whole strip that's just plain dirt, and they really haven't graded. Whoever's doing the work, like city needs to kind of say, "Hey, man, there's cars driving here, and there's businesses, and they're going through." I'm talking about like 8 inch ruts of dirt to get to 7-Eleven or wherever, and that's not acceptable, man. You gotta make things somewhat, accessible. But yeah, they could use our business. I know for sure.
Yeah, and they're good guys down there.
Oh my gosh, they sought us out from day one with the 10% discount for gardeners and everything. Anything we can do to help them out is a good thing.
Yeah.
I get a little embarrassed with how much money I spend over there. So I was trying to maybe not bother them, which I know is such a weird, I just do get shy when I show up and they're like, "Oh, you're here to buy some more straw." And I'm like, "Yes." But I won't be shy now. I'll definitely just
No. They need a business.
And they recognize
from
me
the
because I used to bike with
standpoint-
all the dirt on my attached to my bike. So yeah.
I don't know. From a treasure standpoint, stay shy.
Oh yeah. Oh, this is my personal money. Don't worry. Don't worry. It's just my bad budget. Fabulous. Okay, cool. So let's start the conversation about the what is it called? Are they called the bylaws? I don't think that's what they're called in the doc. To say they're like
No, those were guidelines. Those were
guidelines.
garden guidelines, I believe. Yeah, yeah.
Cool. So I would say we can amend, this would be like to amend the guidelines to like suit some of our evolving needs. And again, we don't have anything, so I might cap this conversation like, maybe, I guess
Yeah. I can't hear
Sarah,
you.
maybe if we're
you're-
comfortable with looking at this as the, oh
You're,
shoot.
You're
you're
frozen.
glitching out, Sarah.
Oh dear. Well, it's because I touched my phone.
Yeah, your signal was glitching out. Yeah.
Is it now working?
Okay, so I submitted some phrasing that I thought was appropriate, and I'd like us to just start there, just adding that.
I didn't see it, and I kind of checked out of that conversation just because of everything else that was going on.
Mhm.
And I have something to say, but I'll wait till everybody else talks.
Oh, sorry. Well, before we start, sorry, I was glitching out. Can everyone hear me now?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Mhm.
Sorry, it's just I touched my phone to look at the guidelines and it messed up the Wi-Fi. So I'm not touching it anymore. Just wanted to say that I think
Yeah.
as best we can when talking about this, we'll try to feel a little reasonable to the beginning of the conversation. Second,
Sarah, you're glitching out
and
again.
then I
Sorry.
personally, I guess want
There.
what to do. Maybe I'll turn my video off. I'm going to turn my video off. And we'll just hear my voice. What's intent in these conversations? This is a community space, and no one's trying to take anything away from anyone. It's just trying to have everyone's voices be heard. So as best we can, like when we talked about the finances at the end of last year, assuming best intent is always, we should trust each other. We're on the committee together. And I want to work on you guys feeling like you can trust me and all of that. So yeah, just assume that we are in this together when figuring it out. Okay, Karen, where did you say, since you already introduced it, where did you say you wrote
I sent an email.
some of the wording that you wanted
I
to
sent
add?
an email.
Okay, I don't think I got it.
I sent an email with a wording suggesting that old agreements end with when the people leave.
Oh.
So when legacy agreements are done, when new partners are there, the new partners decide what's going to be there for the cross path.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I did see that email.
I'm glad.
And I guess
I'll have to say that was a very frustrating week because I kept saying the same thing over and over, that I had thought it, looked at the situation, and I did not want the path in my part of the garden, and that got ignored over and over and over.
Frank, you raised your hand.
Yeah, and I will say that part of the discussion before I got out of it, I did not ignore. And I'm not because I've been here from the start. I've seen a lot of people come and go, and that guideline on the dimensions of the plots is there for a very specific reason. And Sarah, I hear what you're saying in terms of, people, trying to figure things out together and trying to do some mediation and everything. But with everything else that goes on there, with all the other things that we have to think about, when you're in a public, because when this whole garden started, I said the hardest thing was going to be the people thing. It wasn't going to be the weeds or the pests or water or drought, anything. It was going to be how people were able to work together. And when you have a specific guideline in terms of the parameters of your plot, for me, I get this idea of like creating a common path, but we have common paths, and then we have specific dimensions for the plots that are specifically in the guidelines. And if you want to have a walking path to tend to your plants, that path is in your plot. And it's not shared, because shared things then have to be maintained. And when people come and go the way they do, and the plots on either side of me have changed hands, they haven't had the same people. Well, one did, but they were kind of not there a lot. So, but the one beside me, directly next to me, that plot has changed hands for 4 or 5 seasons in a row now. And so I decided I'm going to make a little walking path in my side so that I have a way to control any kind of weeds or anything else that is associated with my plot. And I just, my personal opinion is that we maintain this idea of the original dimensions of the plot and keep that as a guideline so that nothing like this comes up, because people's emotions start getting involved. People start measuring off 6 inches or whatever, and it kind of gets ridiculous. And it just seems like, for me, if you keep it simple and straight, and really, and I'm a person who likes the soft edges, that there is no deviation from this. It in the long run, it's just going to keep everything a lot simpler. And I'll leave my opinion at that.
All I want to say is that I'm not sure how my emails are coming across, but they weren't arguing with a word of that. I think what I was trying to understand is, and I wanted to come to the garden to look at the plots together to understand why we have a path committee that maintains the communal paths in the garden. And I wanted to understand why this one part of the garden didn't have a communal path, because Cheryl believed that was a communal path based on her 5 years at the garden. And she thought this was not anyone trying to take away Karen's 20 by 20 foot space. It was simply wondering if maybe her border, she started a few inches too far to the left, and if it needed to be moved back. It was just that a mistake had happened with where the plot had been laid. 20 feet had started. And so I was just trying to figure out if there was a way for us to look at it together to understand why, because you're the only person who's been here since the beginning. It's not really fair that pressure falls on you, but we do have to come up with maybe a new way to navigate the fact that, like, some of us haven't been there since the beginning, but we've been there for a while, and we have an understanding of what the parameters are, and that what to do when it's not anyone trying to take away 20 by 20 property. It is just, I think the property line actually starts over here versus here. And I wanted to know, they were saying that there's always been a communal pathway, and you're saying that's not the case. And so maybe and I just want to, and I know this might sound like a challenging question. I'm genuinely asking, do you know why that area doesn't have a path when the other plots do?
I'm gonna guess that it was because the plot, at least above, and I don't know, like they're because they have two plots there, like my wife and I.
Yeah.
The D plot is, I don't know if they have some agreement with the folks down in that one, but my guess is that what they did up top was because that plot just kept being abandoned. And if you go over to the next quadrant where Christine is, they've done a similar thing between 11 and 12. There's not a corridor between 11 and 12. Everything is in quadrants. So, you know, and really what we need to do, and this was something that with Bindi, who had come and done all the work and the report, the Conway School thing. So one thing that I had said, because if you go down to C1, there's 4 pieces of rebar there, and Rick, who is one of the original gardeners, he's like, don't ever move these pieces of rebar because they are perfectly measured off. What you can go off of these 4 pieces of rebar and remeasure at least down in the C and D, you can remeasure everything. And so what we really need to do is remeasure everything. And I don't, I don't know if I'm the person to do that. It'd be something that we could talk about doing, but it is something that we really need to do. It's been 11 years since these plots were created, and a lot of people have come and gone, and, you know, inches go here and inches go there. And even towards the main corridors, probably things are off. But there should be no pathways between anything outside those quadrants. So and that's where I got frustrated with the emails. And after a while, I'm like, the guidelines are pretty specific here, and maybe they didn't know that, you know, and that's okay. But it's like, okay, now we got to have the conversation. And I just, again, I'll reiterate, I really think we should stick to what these measurements are. And if people want to have a path, they make it in their own garden. And then if a new person comes in, all of the, you know, what is it? Fences make good neighbors or whatever. It's just, because of the turnover up in the gardens. I don't know if we should get wishy-washy. I'm not gonna say I don't know. I don't think we should be wishy-washy on this. This is something where I really think, you know, and then I think, and there's a way to communicate it where, okay, look, you've been up here a while. This is how it's been, but it's really not how it should be. And so we kind of need to do a reset here, and we communicate it, you know, thoughtfully and respectfully. And I just think that's really the better way to go here.
And I'm
Okay,
just gonna
so
ask one
I
more
would like to say
question.
something still here, that I was subjected to a week of wasted time emails, 30 emails, and I kept saying the same thing over and over, and it wasn't respected and it wasn't listened to. So how do I stop that? The people involved were not listening. How do I stop them from badgering me about that?
Well, I guess I'm gonna have to try to be as accountable as I can in this, and that at no point was I trying to make you not feel heard, and I tried to start every email with that as the dominant thing. Is I understood very clearly what Frank and Karen's perspective was, so clearly. And I personally was confused about why on some parts of the garden there's communal paths and down there isn't. And I think in trying to understand, because in talking with Cheryl, I was like, well, why are you so concerned about this? It doesn't seem to affect your plot at all. she just said, I don't understand why on one half of the garden there are communal paths and why there isn't over here.
But she has a communal path. On the other side of her garden is a communal path. It's there.
Okay.
So I'm not
But
quite sure
on
what she's
on
talking
the
about.
sea in the area where my garden is, there's a communal path on both sides.
There shouldn't be.
There shouldn't be.
There,
On every single part of that quadrant. Oh, okay. So okay. Great. That's all.
There should
I think
be.
yeah,
that,
no, it goes. It's 1, 2 communal path, 3, 4 communal path, 5, 6 communal path. So
okay, great.
yeah.
Then and I will just need to know that in the guidelines then too, because I think that was the question that was being asked. And it was never to say you're wrong or you don't deserve to like have your opinion heard. I just kept reading the guidelines and it didn't say where the communal paths were and weren't. And I was just at the garden with Cheryl looking and also wondering why. And it was, I told Cheryl, I'm like, I don't think it's going to change what's happening because Karen's the guidelines do say wherever the borders fall, it goes back to the original, border lines. She was just confused because she thought it was a communal path, like she was seeing at other parts of the garden. And I'm sorry there were so many emails. It was honestly pretty awful for me as well. And I really apologize I didn't handle it in a way that made everyone feel heard and comfortable in the way that I was attempting to do.
Mhm.
Well, then this is why I keep asking, let us put that in that #1 rule so that people like me don't have to go through this again. I thought it was pretty clear. There was no extra paths within the quadrant, and we each had our path every 2 plots. That sounded pretty clear, and yet you guys kept ignoring what I was saying over and over.
Well,
and I will say I did not. So if you're
No,
including
Frank,
me,
you
you
didn't.
guys.
No,
Okay.
not Frank.
And so I think the guidelines were pretty clear. And like I said, look, we don't want to, I really think we just need to spell it all out clearly again. And this could be something that goes out to everybody, and just we can say the issue came up. We don't have to say where it was, but that this is how these gardens are laid out. And there's not really a deviation from that. I think it's just important to stress that, because again, with the turnover that we have, it is just one of those things that is going to be, we want to probably nip this right now.
yeah, because I think what the problem is, and then Ted, I'm so sorry. I see your hand is raised. I just guess if we can figure out a way that when someone's asking a question, that it's not coming off as an argument.
Mhm.
Because and I kept reading the guidelines and I kept not seeing what you guys were saying. And now I understand, which is also why I wanted to take it out of the email space and meet up with each of you individually to better understand. And so now we'll have it in the guidelines, but I guess like as best you can, and maybe this is my own weakness, I'm going to ask a lot of questions, and it's not because I don't respect what everyone here is saying. It's just that like, I know a lot of people at the garden are very frustrated because they don't feel they can ask questions, and I'm trying, and they're coming to me with questions, and so I'm just trying to get them some answers. And it's not because anyone needs to feel unimportant. And I guess I'm just asking that, even though I'm young and you're new chairperson, to try to trust me with what I'm trying to do and corresponding about like these tougher issues, if possible. And Ted, you had your hand up.
Thanks. Just 2 things. One, I don't think these kinds of things should be debated through emails. I think it should be made clear that any disputes, questions, concerns about the size of the plots or where things are in the plots, they can be brought to the committee. But to go back and forth and try to answer all the questions through a series of emails, in my mind, is not the way to go. As far as the plots go, I would be willing to help you, Frank. It seems as though we really need to go and stake out every plot. You said C1 is done.
Yes, C1 is like,
Maybe everything else should be according to the guidelines. And because when people get their plots, they're told they're getting a 20 by 20. And
Yep.
there should be no dispute. And to stake them out and to say, this is a path, this is a plot. And just make clear to everybody, that's the way it has been. There have been some side agreements that were, I would say, improperly made, where, and just because they were improperly made does not mean they have to be maintained. But to re-measure the plots, I'm sure most of them are going to turn out to be just the way they are.
they'll
But
be fairly
to
close.
end,
They're going to be off. I can guarantee you, but they won't be off by
Yeah.
much. They won't be off by
they're
much.
not going to be off by much, but we could, they could stake them. And I always thought it's nice to have a stake in the ground that says which plot is which plot. Sometimes I'm not sure what's what. You know,
Who knows?
Um,
Maybe we have a surveyor somewhere who's got a plot. Yeah, and I know my hand's not up, but the other thing too, Sarah, I don't think it's fair for you to have to try and mediate that either. You know, that's not fair for you, and I think this is a good it's in some ways, I know, Karen, it sucks, but it's kind of good this came up, because we really do need to kind of remeasure everything, and we need to be very clear that just this is how it is, but why it's the way it is, not just this is how it is and my way or the highway thing, but it's because if you're new, you don't know how much turnover there has been up there. And I mean, I've met a lot of wonderful people, and some of them were really wonderful people who abandoned their plots. But I think this is one of those things that just, it helps to maintain some sort of order this is going to sound kind of weird, but in the chaos of plots turning over. And it's just a really sensible thing to do, I think, because it's, it just makes everything obvious for people, and there's no gray area, and gray areas where then people have disagreements and whatever else emotions come to play.
Yeah.
And Stephen?
No, I appreciate that in this discussion, there's already been a fair amount of repetition, so I'm not going to add to it. I do support exactly the way Ted put it before. You or anyone, Sarah, are not put in the position of intervening on a kind of a broader policy thing that affects more than just a few people. In theory, affects everyone in the garden. That's why we have these things, and this is why we have the meeting. Okay, so it was correctly identified as a new business item, right? And you've got it that way, Sarah. That's correct, and that's where it goes. Someone raises an issue, great. Okay, we'll put it on the agenda of the next meeting under new business or wherever is, whatever is the most appropriate place, and that's the way we do it, right? To have an endless and side thing, and I agree, we're striving to be something better than everyone's making out their own side agreements. So, okay, I think we beat this to death.
Definitely.
I'm hungry again.
Like beating the dead Canadian thistle.
That's never dead.
I will say what might happen in the future too, and this is just me trying to figure out how to make the communication at the garden better, is I was reached out to represent, like, to talk to Cheryl because she doesn't do computer, like doesn't like to email and things. And so that's why I intervened, was because she needed someone to like talk to her in person. And I don't mind taking on things like that, to meet with people who can't come to these meetings, to personally like represent like what the committee is talking about and stuff. And so, and in that, I guess I'm just trying to express like, have good intent with how these conversations go. And I do, I think I have a different perspective on this that reaches the same conclusion. I immediately regretted getting involved because my belief is that neighbors should talk to each other first, and then if they can't come to an agreement, come to the committee. Which it sounds like that might be something that we'll think about, because it seems like the opposite is what you guys feel. And so for future conversations, as we finalize those amendments to the guidelines, how we want to agree for those discussions to go down, and like what precedents we want to set, we'll need to decide together. Cool. So the next meeting is July.
I think.
Don't say first.
6th.
Okay, good.
It's July 6th. A motion to or is everyone comfortable with that day? Or no, we don't even motion that. That's just what it is. So
No,
it's just,
That's what
yeah,
That's what it
that's
is.
just what it is.
It is
At
what
7
it is.
o'clock.
That's very much.
And
Yes.
I'm going to get some notes to Margie, or maybe Eric, if you were taking notes. Eric, do you no? Okay, cool. I'll let her know, and she can send out the email that usually gets sent at the end. And all right, a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconded.
Awesome. All in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.